Yeah, well, it gets a bit boring from here on out.
Well, for a little while anyway.
For a little while, we're just sort of level at 35,000 feet, virtually, and we just periodically talk to air traffic control and get a few updates, and whether or not it goes, because we don't have the VHF data link going.
That's right.
Make a nice challenging landing for you, gusting 19 to 20 knots.
Yeah. You're up first.
Okay, so my name's Rod, and I'm participating at the moment in something called WorldFlight, which has been going for a great many years, about 19 years I think we've been going now. And we basically fly this fantastic simulator around the world. It takes us a week to do it. The legs are anywhere from an hour is probably our shortest leg. I think this year 5 hours was our longest leg.
5 hours.
5 hours, and that was from Pago Pago to Honolulu.
Where's Pago Pago?
In the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I thought it was.
Yep.
It was yep.
Yeah, about 5 hours south of Honolulu.
Right.
And then the next longest leg I think was Honolulu to Portland, Oregon.
Because we're in a 747-400,
Absolutely.
fully fueled, presumably. So how far can we get in this baby?
We can go an awful long way, about 14 and a half, 15 hours of endurance.
Okay.
But most of these legs we're fairly lightly loaded, both in terms of our virtual passengers and also in terms of our virtual fuel.
Right.
And of course we can take as much fuel as we like, because it's free.
It's free.
Absolutely.
Of course, you guys are sticklers for realism. Absolutely. So you wouldn't put more fuel than what's actually capable in the tanks.
Because it costs you fuel to carry fuel.
It does.
So the more fuel you put on, the more fuel you burn to carry that extra fuel. So that's why we have some fairly detailed flight plans here of all sorts of information about where we fly, what we do, temperatures, winds, and we pick up real world winds, and that's automatically pulled into the simulator, and it's simulated from the current global weather that's happening right now.
We're taking off from
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
And also the clouds, not obviously the exact position of every cloud, but cloud levels and wind visibility is all brought through into our visual system here from the real world.
Got it. And this is Microsoft Flight Simulator visuals, but everything else is a...
It's actually Lockheed Martin's Prepared, or P3D as it's known, which was what Flight Simulator became. And as many people may know, there is a new version of Flight Simulator coming out in 2020. And from what we've seen, the visuals on that look absolutely phenomenal.
you have to upgrade
the system will be upgraded, the projectors will be upgraded, and as we'll have a chat later, we've actually got a complete upgrade to the entire simulator just around the corner for our 20th anniversary of WorldFlight. So this old bird will be retired, we hope, next year, and a very, very fancy new machine will take its place.
What are you going to do with this one? Because this is, still is the world's most expensive do-it-yourself flight simulator?
Absolutely, yes, in the Guinness Book of Records. The owner, Matthew, has that's something that he holds very dear to his heart. We haven't decided what will happen with this yet.
Right.
And our primary idea is to do the upgrade and get the new one working, and then we can think about what happens to this one in the future.
The most remarkable thing about this is I realised sitting in here for the first time, I was amazed at how quickly I forgot I was in a simulator, especially once the full motion simulation kicks in.
And also the visuals, having such a wraparound visual system, it becomes very, very immersive for you.
Yeah,
and you sort of, you forget you're in a simulator, and we can even turn the motion system off, and the visual cues that you get convince you that you're actually, wow, I think I'm doing this. You don't feel the vibrations, but as you rotate and as you start to turn, it really tricks the mind, and you think, wow, hang on a sec, am I doing it?
So it still does that even though you've got the motion turned off?
Absolutely.
Right, but it's still, it's more betterer. Yes.
It's more betterer with the motion, yes, much betterer, yes,
Right.
yeah.
So you guys have no control over the motion at all, so if there was extreme weather right now from where we took off, would we be flipped sideways?
Yep, this motion platform that we're on, it's quite an old motion platform. It's a hydraulic motion platform. A lot of the newer ones are electric. Runs a huge several horsepower 3-phase hydraulic pump motor, pressurizing system up to 1500 psi, There's 3 rams that are connected to the platform underneath us, and they're capable of moving very, very quickly.
What's the maximum tilt on this thing?
This will only go to physically about 30 degrees tilt either way, but you know, you try sitting at a 30-degree angle, and it can move from level to 30 degrees in about a second or so.
Wow,
so it can really move quickly. Generally then it'll hit its limit stops and it'll settle. When we were doing some early testing on this, we had some interesting experiences, shall we say. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So you don't have to wear the seatbelts in here, it's not going to be that violent?
We do have seatbelts on because it can be unpredictable, and you know, like with all electronics, sometimes you have to turn them off and turn them on again because they do funny things. There's a big red button up there. Yep, if we need to.
And of course we have to turn that off to exit this.
Absolutely, otherwise that first step's a big one.
So how, that 30 degrees, would a real 747-400 get to those sort of angles, like coming in?
Certainly, but the thing with the motion platform is it's actually tricking the vestibular canals in your inner ear. So when you look at the motion platform from the outside as the aircraft's flying along, it doesn't actually mimic what the aircraft is doing unless you're flying in straight and level. When you decelerate, the motion platform will actually tip forward, so that you feel like you're decelerating. When you're accelerating, I'll just let this radio call to go through. When you're accelerating, the motion platform will tip backwards so that you feel yourself pressed into the seat. And it's got what they call a washout function on it, which is you roll into a turn, the motion platform will roll, and then it will slowly, at a very, very low rate, wash back to straight and level. So that if you roll further, it can roll again, and if you roll out, it will roll out for you. So the washout function, absolutely, and so there's a very lovely piece of 1980s computer engineering that drives this. We feed it X, Y, and Z acceleration variables, and it does the magic for us. So we don't even have to think about that.
Would this simulator, do-it-yourself simulator, differ from the real Boeing one? And how much would a real Boeing one cost compared to this? I don't know the cost of this one. I don't. You guys know.
No, the real one is millions, 30 million plus.
Yep.
The other big difference is this is what we call a 3 degree of freedom motion platform. So it will do pitch, it will do roll, and it will do heave or bump, which is vertical. And that's all it can do.
It can't do rotation.
It can't do a rotation. Yes. Yeah. So a 6 degree of freedom is the next step up, and that will do the rotation, that will do everything all at once.
Is your new one going to do that?
No. The new simulator will go on the same platform. And one of the things that you really can't do with this is engine failure work, because there is a significant yaw moment when the aircraft has an engine failure. Yeah, it really yaws. Yeah. And you use the seat of your pants to fly a lot. And if you can't feel that, it's very, very difficult to actually, you know, sort of feel and control engine failures. You find yourself concentrating on the instruments, which aren't necessarily going to help you out a great deal, and it makes it much, much harder to achieve. I'm sure professional pilots out there may beg to differ, but there we go.
You are a flight instructor though?
I was a flying instructor for a number of years. I'm now retired. I was just a general aviation flying instructor, so you know, Cessnas, Pipers, a little bit of charter work around the place, which was a lot of fun. But I decided I didn't really want to go into the airline business, and I now have a job playing with simulators for some strange reasons.
Do you think you could get in a 747 and fly it?
I could probably fly it. Whether or not I could land it successfully, that's anybody's.
I didn't know you could fly a plane.
Why, yes! Land? No!
Yeah, that becomes a very politically difficult statement. So
the takeoff we just did,
Yep.
How different would that be to a real one? Did you guys, how much fuel, how much weight, cargo, all that sort of stuff, was that factored in? Or?
Well, I'll leave the captain to answer those questions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Switch the mic over.
Yeah, we can do that.
You have control, Rod.
I have control.
G'day, I'm John Gollan, and I've been taking part in world flight since I think about 2001 when I first met Matt. My background is playing around with Microsoft Flight Simulator initially, and through that met Matt and the online community that does the air traffic control. So part of the event is it's all happening online.
That's it.
On
I was gonna
VATSIM.
ask that. Those voices we heard in the air traffic control, there's somebody somewhere in the world sitting there, somebody's scheduled, somebody's always in a roster.
Well, a lot of it is the local people. So at the moment we've got some Americans providing air traffic control in their area of the world. And it's all volunteers, it's all free, anybody can do it with Flight Sim or X-Plane or whatever. Just download the bits and pieces and get started. But with 100 or so aircraft we sometimes get trying to fly at the same time between cities. It certainly helps us get around, get out and not have conflicts. So I work as an IT professional. I've been doing that for a while, as well as working with the simulator building an integration business that we have as well. So we sort of fell into that business through Matt wanting to, I guess, improve the reliability of the simulator and also find some solutions for his new beast, which we'll see, so that we were able to restore it and use it as a real aircraft without modifying it and destroying the components and ripping them all out and pulling them apart. We couldn't find anything that did it, so we decided to build something ourselves.
Bit of Aussie ingenuity.
How hard could it be? So we went through to that, and it sort of grew into organically into a business as other people were interested, and it's now it's a delight to see the thing come alive. It's really satisfying the difference between something that's sort of handcrafted, back in 1999 onwards, which this simulator is, to the real aircraft where you have the industrial switches, the industrial lights, the avionics talking natively.
But technically it's going to work the same, functionally the same, but the look and feel is going to be the real thing.
Correct.
Whereas we've only got some of the real instruments in here.
Most of the real instruments, whereas critical flight instruments are in here, the ones that aren't simulated are things that are really not relevant to flying. For example, the overhead circuit breaker panel isn't connected here. There's a few various switches on the front panel that aren't actually connected. But the majority of the ones are connected, and all the ones that are critical for the setup and flight of the aircraft are connected. In the new simulator, every switch, every button, every light, every circuit breaker will all function, will all do what it should do, and they all talk back to the same piece of software which is sitting behind the actual aircraft model, which is Precision Simulator 10, or PSX as it's known. And that's what we're running here at the moment. So we'll be running the same back-end simulator software, and that has all the hooks for all the circuit breakers and everything in there already. It's just a matter of connecting them up and making them work.
So can people at home plug in real time to you guys and see what you're doing? Is that they can just sit there and watch what you... I mean, they can't see the camera up above us.
They can.
They can.
They can, yeah. So they can't see because So we're actually running a Twitch stream for World Flight.
Oh, a Twitch stream.
Yeah. So if you go to Twitch and search for QFA25, Quebec Foxtrot Alpha 25, that'll find the World Flight Australia Twitch stream, which is streaming the cockpit and the air traffic control audio throughout the event. So there's other teams around the world that are also running their Twitch streams. So if you search for World Flight, you'll get a few hits on those as well.
How many people will you get watching at once, Max?
Varies. Some of the we've seen numbers on some streams up to 400.
Wow.
So it varies on time of day,
Yep.
whether the locals are online, all that sort of thing. So it goes up and down. So it's definitely it's a big event around the world, and because we're raising money for charity, it really everybody likes to feel good and get involved. So and it makes a difference to us. So there's a lot of people at home. All the aircraft we're seeing are other people at home flying their flight simulator.
Was that the other traffic we saw?
That's all the traffic. There's one in front of us now, flashing away. Yeah, there's a couple there.
You
You can see the strobes. Yeah,
You can see a contrail and the strobes.
there's a couple of contrails, a couple of strobes.
Yes, I was going to ask about the streaks. They were contrails.
They're the contrails from the other aircraft. So I can see this guy's 2,000 feet above us, and we can see his strobe lights. And so they're all, other teams or one of the other hundreds of pilots or so that fly along with us.
Does anyone get rogue and you have to boot them off the system or something? Does anyone, or is really everyone plays nice? Are there trolls? What I'm asking, are there trolls in the aviation community?
There's always trolls. There's always trolls. That seem to have a group of supervisors that help maintain order, so they can control access to the network.
The moderators.
Yeah, the moderators.
Yes, all right.
But that's part of their role. They're also there to help new pilots get started. So they try to be nice about it and help people out rather than be aggressive. So, but it's not really a problem. There tends to be a bit of a rivalry between some of the world flight teams.
Is that just like the land-ins? Is that the who can do the longest flight without leaving for a bathroom stop? What is the?
We haven't thought of that one yet.
Oh God!
Well, there's one we haven't thought of.
There you go.
I don't know. It's some of them are flying ones. At the end of world flight, traditionally the last leg, the aircraft. So we always every year leave from Sydney and we return to Sydney, fly around the world. And on the last leg, the 10 or so teams that are the official teams all do a harbour run, and we fly down the harbour, under the harbour bridge, pull up, do a barrel roll, and then go around for a landing at Sydney Airport. So doing that without crashing and doing it in a particularly stylish way is always a bit of a challenge.
So you can realistically get a 747-400 under the harbour bridge?
Well, virtually you can.
Virtually you
I
can.
don't think you want to try it in real life.
You may not be able to do it in real life, but you can certainly barrel roll the 7.
Right,
You can barrel roll any aeroplane.
Yep.
Because it's a 1G manoeuvre the whole way through, correctly done. There was a famous video of the 707's first flight.
Yeah.
And the test pilot, he was an old Texan dude. He took off in the 707 and he actually did a barrel roll in the original 707. After he landed,
0 degrees left, what is too far?
he was told, great display, but we don't do that in airliners anymore. So if you do a quick search on Google, you will actually see the footage. It's very, very funny.
Tex Johnston was well aware just how lively the Dash 80 was. He saw a need to share this knowledge with the public. Boeing Chairman Bill Allen asked Tex to make a test flight on Gold Cup Day with a pass over the Gold Cup course. Tex realized he had a unique opportunity. Aviation people from all over the world would be watching. Telling no one, he planned his own special demonstration of the Dash 80's capability.
Tex had no announced plan, nor was there any consideration of making a barrel roll over the speedboat course on Lake Washington that day at all. In fact, he didn't have a minimum crew.
I did a 180-degree turn, came back down over the water, pulled up, established the climb, put in full aileron, did a nice 1G roll, and came out in level flight. And I knew that no one would believe what they had seen, so I turned around and came back and repeated the same thing on the westerly heading.
I happened to be out at the course. I was not on one of the boats, but I came out on the course and I saw him make the barrel rolls, and I was dumbfounded. And I was as close to the program as anyone was. So he changed sort of forever the image, let's say, of the Boeing company and of the Dash 80 with that one maneuver.
I decided that I would do a roll to impress the people. So I came across and did a Shutdown. One of my test engineers happened to have his camera with him, and he snapped a picture, which is famous today, with the airplane on its back, and the engines up on top of the wing, and the Lake Washington below.
So this is one of the problems, is that we're virtually flying with all these other virtual aeroplanes, and so we are virtually being sequenced.
They rack you and stack you, do they?
They-
at the airports?
Generally they don't rack and stack us.
Right,
What
yes,
they'll do
okay.
is they'll add extra miles to the leg.
Yeah.
So here is our path And you can see we're diverging from our path at the moment. So we've turned 40 degrees off our heading, and so that'll give us spacing away from other aeroplanes. Hopefully at some stage he'll remember and turn us back onto track.
Does that happen often? The ATC forgets to put you back on course. It gives you a wrong course.
Well, yes, sometimes because these guys are volunteers, and because they're little inexperienced, they can get busy doing other things.
Right.
And periodically you might have to just sort of jump on the radio and just say, hey, you want us to do 5? And you could try and be subtle of, sort of maybe, sort of, do you have an ETA for our revised heading or something like that?
Right.
Yeah.
Is there air traffic control software that goes along with this? So,
there is
so
virtual air traffic control consoles.
And you can switch airports and stuff, or do you get a... I take it he's laughing at my question.
No, I wasn't actually. I was laughing at the air traffic control.
Oh, okay, right.
Sorry, I apologise.
Yeah, so I'll actually hand back to John because he's a lot more adept at answering information about the air traffic control side of the business.
Yeah, he did the say Mach number, and somebody transmitted Mach number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
old gag.
Oldie
bit of gag.
Right, it's an old simulated joke, is it? They wouldn't do that in real life.
They do.
Okay, right.
Promptly followed by, say, cancel IFR clearance.
So how often do you guys take manual control? Boy, we just had a bit of turbulence there.
It depends. We probably it's up to the individual who's flying at the time. So there's no ground rules or anything. We fly whenever we want to. So we could. Some people decide to hand fly the entire time. We sort of generally fly most of the way up to cruise level and part of the descent and landing, and let the autopilot do the rest. Because after a while, it's just a bit tedious to some extent. Might not sound like it, but we've been fortunate to be able to do this for many years now. So yeah, it's up to the individual.
Would you guys have as much workload as a real 747 pilot on route? No, I was going to say, because I've heard that they're almost always fully occupied. They don't get the chance to get bored. They wonder, how can you stay up there for 12 hours,
There's a lot of things they have to cover, constantly staying on top of weather, constantly staying on top of the conditions at the arrival airport, planning for the arrival. So when we plan our route, we also have to find out when we get to the other end which off-ramp do we need to take, and that could change with air traffic control. Which runway are we going to land on? It could change with the weather or whatever at the last minute. So all of that becomes important, and we have to stay on top of all of that. We don't have to. We can be a bit lazy. We do try to plan a bit ahead, because one thing is we try to stay ahead of the aircraft, and when you see me land, you'll see what happens when you don't stay ahead of the aircraft, so that we're not surprised, or we don't say, what's it doing now? So that's what most pilots are trying to do, is stay ahead of the aircraft, stay on top of things.
Often do you encounter bad turbulence? Like, is it the turbulence? How often do you?
Look,
can you see it coming on the radar? And
turbulence doesn't show up generally because it's just air. Yep. Turbulence can be associated with thunderstorms. Right. The weather radar in the 747 picks up moisture, so it picks up rain. So if you start seeing ugly cells, red and on the or purple, magenta on the screen, even worse, stay away from those. But yeah, you don't actually see the turbulence, you see the other associated weather. And so that's quite often sometimes where you'll be flying along and the aircraft will hit some turbulence, and then they'll turn the seatbelt sign on, because that's clear air turbulence, and they couldn't see.
So do you guys pretend you have passengers in the back and make calls to imaginary people in the back?
Sometimes. Depending on many factors, one of which is probably how much we've had to drink before the flight.
I was going to say.
That's one of the advantages here, is we can have a beer before we fly. So that's that's nice. We had dinner tonight. Had a nice red wine with dinner.
And some people fly better the more alcohol. There is a limit.
Yes, there is a limit. Yeah. Take the edge off.
Yeah.
Dutch courage. So yeah, but generally we sort of do the passenger signs because it's part of the system's expected to happen, but otherwise we don't actually have anybody to talk to or a phone to pick up. So the other sim we will.
I've heard the 747 is an easy plane to fly.
Is it?
That's what I've heard.
I
mean, you guys aren't real 747 pilots.
No, I can't speak for that. It is very forgiving. And I think some of that's, it's got quite a lot of inertia, being a large aircraft, but it doesn't seem to make it heavy. It just makes it even out the responsiveness a little bit, so it's not quite as jerky or twitchy. So it's able to ride and be much more stable as a platform, so that makes it a lot easier. And also I think because it's got an understanding from air traffic control and the systems, you can fly maybe a little bit faster than the other aircraft will be allowed to because you have to because of your weight. So there's a lot of accommodation for the aircraft that makes it a bit easier, gives you a bit more room to manoeuvre.
So the heavier the plane, the faster you have to fly? How does that work?
Well, most of the actual speed you fly, it's generally set based on a company policy around fuel, and it's basically around fuel. They want to minimise the. That's exactly right.
Land with as much.
Exactly, and
Is
there's
there
also.
a contest in that? Do you guys have party?
No, we don't have a contest in fuel. No.
But also aircraft are designed to cruise at certain speeds.
Yes.
And the 747 is designed to cruise at a higher speed than say a 737 or a lot of Airbuses. And so it just natively wants to cruise at a higher speed, and that was part of the design of the aircraft when it was originally created. Yeah.
So you can see over here there's some weather appearing. So off to our right hand side we've got a storm cell or something. Some nice red there.
So you wouldn't,
We would not fly into that red bit.
So would air traffic control, presumably they can't, would we still have coverage? I mean, if we're over the Pacific somewhere, presumably they can't see our exact location, or is there a transponder that's
too far, slowing to
There, I didn't think
there was.
Yeah, so over the ocean, there's still oceanic procedures used, which is all position reporting effectively. Some of that is now done via data link, so the aircraft you can actually via satellite log in, and the aircraft will transmit periodic position reports.
So they know roughly where you are.
That's right, but there is a need to maintain radio contact on HF radio, which is horrible and scratchy and noisy and hard to do, so everybody hates it. And there's some technologies and procedures around there, so it is different flying across the ocean, across the Atlantic and the Pacific especially. When we encounter that, it's exciting and sometimes frustrating when you've got a lot of people trying to talk at the same time to give their position report. Normally it's fairly quiet unless air traffic control has something to tell a pilot to do. But in oceanic sectors, if it's busy, a lot of pilots are initiating a call and a lot of talking.
So how realistic is the control stick? Have you got a stick shaker and all that?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yeah, so this yoke is an actual aircraft yoke. Correct. It has a stick shaker on it, which will hopefully not kick in. So that kicks in just as we approach stall, and it's very loud and vibrates the stick very much. You can't miss it. So yeah, it's a proper. They're linked. So when we move one of the yokes, the other yoke will move as well in pitch and roll. And the rudder pedals underneath as well are also linked. So and the rudder pedals also have independent toe brakes for left and right as well.
Well, actually, because it is virtual, let's demonstrate the stick shaker.
All right, let's demonstrate the stick shaker.
All right, we're going to demonstrate the stick shaker. All right, we're going to stall this baby.
We're going to stall this baby.
And what height are we? 35,000 feet.
35,000 feet.
Yeah.
So we'll just get the nose up.
Yes, there is a segment missing on that display.
Yep.
Whoa, I can really feel that going forward.
Okay, so airspeed's low. Kick in, stick shaker will activate in a second. Power up.
Nose down. There we go.
And there we go.
Awesome. So we didn't actually go into a stall, that was just a stall warning.
We actually did go into a stall.
Yeah, we did go into a stall?
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll put George back on and he will...
He'll fix it all up.
He will fix it all up.
So if you want to, you can stall a 747 at 35,000 feet.
Qantas 25 was just doing a demonstration. Apologies.
Somebody.
They would have noticed a deviation in altitude.
Yeah,
It wasn't a particularly well flown stall. As an instructor,
I'm mucking up your record here, am I? So is there someone who will throw in an engine failure? Or no, you said you couldn't do engine failures, right?
That's one of the things that can happen during the event. Depending on who the pilot is, if it's somebody who's really competent and on top of things, sometimes somebody will pull a nasty on them because they know they can handle it. It makes it a bit interesting. But we have a mix of people flying, people who've never flown before. It's very different when you sit in this cockpit from doing it at home on your computer as well. As Rod sort of mentioned, it's and you mentioned, it's very immersive. And working with two people, it can be very overwhelming, and you can kind of get a bit swamped. So depending on who's flying and what they're doing, you know, usually they get left alone, but every now and then something will go wrong.
So will the new simulator have like all the fuse panels and all the paraphernalia in the back here? Because in the back here is quite, I mean, we've got this stuff over here. What is all this?
That's the main control instructor station for the simulator. So at the top is the actual software that is the flight model. So that's the actual Precision Simulator 10 software that is providing the flight and controlling the aircraft. And then down below we have a small control panel and a screen where we have access to all the other computers that are running the scenery, the displays, all the other interface hardware, etc. And we can switch between them on that screen. Also get our flight plans and all that sort of thing as well.
So could we bring up the sun if we wanted to?
We could.
Yeah, you could.
Yep. We could. I don't know if we could do it right now because the motion's on, but yeah, so we can, one of the beauties of the simulator is having the flexibility to do that. You can decide today I want to fly into Innsbruck with really low cloud.
Yep. And over here we don't really have, we have some panels down the bottom. Which
Yeah,
are
so
kind
that's-
of like, they're like the fuse panels.
So that's a blank, circuit breaker panel. That's what's called the P6 panel.
Yep.
So that actually doesn't have any circuit breakers in it here.
Yep. But the new one will.
The new one does, and they're all connected up. So that's for us. I didn't even say it. Okay. The new one does, and they're all connected up. So that's a big change. And the new cockpit has it's an aircraft cockpit. It's a real aircraft cockpit.
Right.
So it has the original aircraft library section and all the
I was
equipment that
going to
comes
say
in
it's
there.
got the flight manuals and the whole.
It doesn't come with the flight manuals. They have to be sourced elsewhere. I don't know how they go about that. It's not my simulator, so
Right.
I'm just lucky enough to get to play with it.
We've got something. What's in the ring binder?
Hang on, there we go.
There we go.
So this is the one of the flight manuals. Includes the quick reference handbook.
Yep.
So this has
Quick
a lot of
reference.
procedures.
It's about 2 inches thick.
Yeah, well, this is the quick one.
Yep.
And it has a lot of the normal procedures, but also has a lot of the abnormal procedures. So, actually, this is the manual. But we also have the quick reference handbook. So this is the actual manual, which details all the systems. There's a similar size one which has checklists in the event that there's a failure or a issue, and that will pop up on our centre screen up here. We can actually see that's an artefact that we know about, so we're not concerned about that. We've just dismissed that. We've checked our references, and it doesn't have any consequence for the flight. It's a feature that we're not using at the moment, but that's where issues are enunciated, and we would then check them in the manual and the quick reference handbook.
Now this, of course, will probably set your comment section alight from all the real world pilots who are going to absolutely pull apart everything that we're doing.
There are pilots on my forum.
And,
that's it.
and mea culpa, we are not airline pilots. We are not professional
We're
pilots.
not professional pilots. We know we're making mistakes in this commentary, so be nice.
Absolutely. We're just here for the fun and for the fundraising.
That's it. Royal Flying Doctor Service.
Yes.
Royal Flying Doctor Service, yes. Link down below.
Yep.
Please donate generously.
So how far have we got to go?
How far out are we?
So we've got about 350 miles to go, give or take. Nautical miles, that is. So I don't know what that is in kilometres. 600?
Times 1.82.
Close to 600?
Does everyone around the world work in the same units?
Yeah, well,
Miles?
for argument's sake, yes.
Right.
Which is feet for altitude, strangely enough.
Yeah.
Nautical miles for distance. Pressure varies a little bit. Some areas still use inches of mercury.
Inches of mercury.
And
Nice.
so that's why we get things like 2986 instead of good old 1024. China still on meters, or have they changed now?
Russia is still in meters.
Russia is still in meters. So Russia uses meters for altitude,
Yep.
which is a bit confusing. We actually have a button here, so we can bring meters up here.
Oh, okay.
So you can see we're at 10,000 meters or 10 kilometers at this altitude, 34,000 feet.
12572, Qantas 25. Thanks very much, G'day.
They just telling us to change frequencies there.
Correct. We just changed to another controller. So there's a lot of different similar call signs on the frequency. So
does the software add in the crappy noise of the HF?
it does. Yeah, they've actually just
Qantas 25 is with you, level
Just let him talk.
350 and decimal 81.
They've actually just added in a new voice system on this online network. So about a month ago, a couple of UK guys that actually fly in this event and have their own simulator, they wrote a new voice codec plug-in for Scratch for the network, and part of that allows you to either have TeamSpeak quality where there's no distortion, or most people enable it in their client software so that it sounds realistic. So it's probably the most advanced implementation of this sort of thing on the internet. It's all range related, so it operates as in real life. Aircraft within range of each other hear the signal degrade as they move apart.
Wow.
And then once you go out of range, you can't hear them. So
Qantas 25, we are very flexible, we can do 7-8 for you. We'll be up here all night, but we can do 7-8 for you.
So realism is the ultimate goal of this game of nerdery.
it is. I think people pick their level of realism. So when you're starting out, what's realistic for you is not the same as what's realistic for me and for the other people who do it more.
You're using your mouse and your keyboard
Correct.
on your desktop.
Correct. And you think, wow, this is amazing. It's so real.
Yeah.
So realism varies from person to person, and the thing is, finding an environment where you can simulate the level of realism you're comfortable with at that point in time. So there's a whole range of people with a whole range of experience, and everybody's doing it because they enjoy it. So as long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing. Yeah.
How many other simulators? What's the next closest one to this in terms of the realism?
There's a couple around the place. So there's, as I already mentioned, Gary Simfest in the UK, who are part of WorldFlight, and they've got running a Twitch stream as well. Gary's built taken a 747 cockpit panels and built all those into a real cockpit. So they're, I guess, ahead in time of Matt Simulator at this stage. There's a couple of others around the world where people have been building the simulators as a passion. So there's a few. They're few and far between. It can be difficult to integrate some of the bits and pieces. So some of the panels get replaced with aftermarket bits and pieces. There's quite a few 737s around.
I was going to say, what different aircraft types? Does everyone want to
pick
fly
one.
the big boys?
No, actually, probably the most popular is the 737 because it's there's so many of them. They fly so many routes, and so many airlines have them. So people are very familiar with them, and they've been around for a very long time. So there's a lot of 737 simulators. Airbus is becoming very popular now as it's increased its penetration. But when you're talking about this level, or the level of having real panels, you've got to get the real panels from somewhere.
Right.
And the newer aircraft, there aren't panels to get. So as with 747 reaching the end of its life, the 747-400, as they're retiring them, there's a lot more parts coming online. And even some of the earlier 737 NGs, there's parts coming along, the earlier A320s as they go to the boneyards and get scrapped. So there's more and more of those. And there's a smattering of others around, but they're the main ones.
So what's the tablet you guys were using? Is that the real deal that the pilots were? Because I know they do have a flight tablet-y thing.
So this is not a real one. This is one that's provided for the simulation community. It simulates many of the charting, electronic flight bag functions. So in the actual aircraft, they usually have one with software that's specific for the particular aircraft, so they can do weights and that sort of thing, do a lot of their performance calculations, look things up on there.
What's some of the coolest stuff it can do?
So this is showing our en route chart. So this is showing our highway in the sky. What are you doing? No, it doesn't. It's not hooked up. I don't know if yours is.
Are those
Just pull yours out. There we go. Mine's not hooked up at the moment.
Are those roads?
No, so these are, well, kind of. So this is this is our position, our pink triangle here, and it's reading our position in the sky.
Yeah, okay.
So as we zoom in, you can see these are actually highways in the sky.
Right. Yeah.
They're called airways. There's a lot of the blue dots for the airfields, nav aids.
Is there like a satellite overlay you can get as well?
Not on this particular application. It's more aimed at, it's not as relevant for aviation as it is for your hobbyist. That's right, and so there's also charts in here as well for the actual airfields, if I can get back to them from here. I don't know where you're up to. Get out of here, back here, there we go. Going here, here we go. So we're going to Chicago O'Hare, so I'm just pulling up the airport here. And it gives me a list here. I can see a list of all the different approaches, which are like the off-ramps from the highway to the runways. And it varies by where you're coming from, which runway you're going to, the type of aircraft even sometimes. So air trap, we've already planned one, so we kind of know which one we're getting. We don't know which runway yet. So we can see those charts by bringing them up. It's black on here, but it can be black or white. So it gives us detail about our approach. And then we can go in and get actual information about the airport itself. There we go. You're always waiting. There we go. Okay, so I'll bring up this one. So this one's actually going to be a chart of the actual, this is actually Chicago O'Hare Airport.
Oh, okay, wow.
So you can see this is all the white runways.
Yep.
And the grey taxiways. And there's a lot of numbers on here, runway lengths in feet and metres. All the taxiways all have letter and number designations, and they give us a route to travel. They'll tell us to taxi via those letters and numbers to wherever our bay is. So
how similar would that be to the real one?
These are effectively the same.
These are effectively the same.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's different publishers of these charts, and this is another publisher that takes the same data and presents them for simulator users. So the real ones are quite expensive.
Yep.
So somebody's produced the simulator ones. It's available to anybody.
So do you guys have a preferred fly-in time, day or night?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I don't think so.
Thought about it, no? Because all we're seeing are some stars here.
Look, it depends on where you're going,
well,
I
I
guess.
guess at 35,000 feet, you're not going to see much anyway.
That's correct.
Right?
It depends. You know, sometimes the night lighting can be really spectacular and impressive at some airports. When we come into Chicago, it'll probably a lot of runways, a lot of traffic.
Sydney's great.
Yep.
Flying out at night.
So that can be impressive. During the daytime, yeah, if you're in the middle of nowhere, it's bland. But it can be quite spectacular as well. There's some fantastic add-on scenery, and we're hanging out for Microsoft Flight to see what that does next year with the cloud-based streaming scenery. So that'll be impressive.
Do they have like stuff opera? I haven't used Microsoft Flight Simulator. Do they have like cars and trucks and trains running around down the bottom? It's all ground simulation as well.
So this is Prepared, which is the I guess the enterprise version of Flight Simulator, and that does have it does have cars and trucks and traffic you can turn on and off, and vehicles around the airport. It also has sailing boats and that sort of thing, and it can also do air traffic, but that's off because we've got real people flying, so we don't have the fake ones. But there's a lot of add-on scenery that is really spectacular that you can buy to add to Prepared or Flight Simulator if you're still using it. That can add not only really spectacular environments and photorealistic ground, but also add-ons like monorails and trains and people waving, and you can get tools that give you ground crew to come and you see them come up to the aircraft with the baggage. The guy marshalling you in.
Right.
They're filling up the aircraft with fuel, all those sort of things. So there's millions of different add-ons for Flight Simulator over the years, and it really enhances the realism.
So do you guys try and land at airports that aren't 747 capable? Do you go like, this is 1,200 feet, I'm going to land this sucker regularly?
Yes, I mean that's one of the beautiful things about the simulator is you can do those things.
You can do those things.
Innsbruck is a classic. Innsbruck. Yes, it's not. You can't land a 747. Well, you wouldn't want to try. They're not allowed to land there in real life. But it's certainly something you can do in simulator. It can be done. Get it in and land it. On one of the legs that we flew out of New Zealand, or in New Zealand, flying from Christchurch to Auckland, we actually deviated slightly and visited Palmerston North, where Rod actually learned to fly.
Oh,
and
he's home. He's home airport.
Rod was flying, and he did a touch and go to reminisce. It was a beautiful touch and go out of Palmerston North on the way there. So
because you couldn't actually land there, you didn't have the length. But you
wouldn't
just
have the
wanted
length.
to touch
No,
it.
that's right. So we did a quick touch and go, and off we went. And that went very well. So but yeah, it gives you an opportunity to go anywhere, and it's a exceptional feature of the simulator. You can go anywhere and you can simulate failures that you wouldn't do in a real aircraft, and you wouldn't get time to do in the Qantas jet base or something like that. So you just sit there and play with circuit breakers and say, if I pull this circuit breaker, these systems are supposed to fail. What actually happens? Can I fly it? What's the change? So that can be quite interesting to the people as well that are into these more intense simulators, not just the flying bit, but also the systems behind them, and how when the systems degrade, you have to fly differently. So I guess it's a bit like being a professional driver sort of thing as well. There's techniques and tricks and the feel and all that sort of thing that you need to have with you as well. How are we going? How are we going, Rod?
We're good.
Have we got our approach yet, or we're on?
Yeah, they've turned us away from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So we're not going to Chicago.
Oh, we're not.
No, we are.
We'll get there eventually.
Oh,
Let's
we'll
just
get
put
there
it that way.
eventually. Okay.
There's a fair bit of traffic around at the moment. We've got a good 4 or 5 aircraft around us that we can see within, one 2,000 below, one 2,000 above. There's another one behind us, 2,000 above. So it's got to sequence us all to get us all in.
They've also slowed us down from 0.8.
So Contrail and
We wouldn't normally fly with the light on in here, would we?
No, that's not actually an aircraft light. That's
not
just
an
for us to
aircraft
see.
light, it's just for us to,
We'd probably normally at night fly with most of the lighting dimmed at least. When we're landing, we'd probably turn most of the lighting off to give us better visibility out of the cockpit. During the daytime, sometimes I like to fly with it on during the daytime because otherwise you're sitting in a dark cockpit with a bright outside, which is a bit weird. But it's up to whoever's flying how they like it. So, but hopefully it helps with the camera a bit.
So I noticed that there was a printout. There's a printer down here and a printout. Is that the real deal, or is that?
That's a real receipt printer.
That's right. I was going to say, do the aircraft have?
The aircraft do have a printer.
They do have a printer.
Yeah. So on the pedestal here.
Oh, okay. There it is. Yeah.
There's it's a fake one as well, but that would be where the actual aircraft printer would be on this model.
And what does this actually print out?
So it can print out.
Give us the identifier.
It can print out a lot of different information, whether it's weather, whether it's clearances from air traffic control. It could be information from the actual communications hub for the airline, sending them information about their gate or any other information they may require. So when they need a hard copy of communication that can come through the CDU devices, they can usually print it out if they need it.
It comes through that, and then they can print it if they want to.
Some of it might print automatically. Other ones, you can select to print as well, depending on what it is. So things like weather, and you can get quite long blurbs about what's happening with icing and all sorts of things that are important to a real pilot that we get away with ignoring. Yeah, we're just turning in a bit here. Rod's.
Oh yeah, I can see some ground lights.
I think they're all stars at the moment, but.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, with that clouds.
Yeah, so pleasant. Yeah, the 747 flies about 3 degrees nose up in cruise.
Right.
Although we're currently at about almost 5 degrees nose up, probably because we're a bit slow. So we normally be flying a bit faster, and therefore the nose will be down a bit. So.
There's nothing exciting in the 747 whirring like the trim wheels in the 737. I just love those.
Clack, 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 clack. I mean, we do have our motorised throttle, so not like the Airbus, which doesn't motorise. I mean, 73 has those as well.
Yeah.
So that's nice that we've got some life there. But no, the trim is just an electronic gauge down here that moves with the actual elevator at the back.
So the 747 has an auto trim?
The 747-4 doesn't have auto trim.
Doesn't have.
The autopilot will use the trim when the autopilot's flying, but the pilots manually trim the loads off the yoke as they fly. We have some switches on the control column that we use to trim as we're flying to try and keep the controls in a neutral position. So I think the 748 may have auto rudder, like the 777 has auto rudder. So in event of an engine failure, you have to kick the rudder to compensate for the failure that's gone out when you're on takeoff.
As long as you input the rudder, it'll actually trim the force out for you.
So the 777 will trim that out for you automatically. We've got some knobs down here to fiddle with to do that. We try to avoid having those engine failures.
But of course, the trim in an aircraft is a little bit different from a lot of GA aeroplanes because the aircraft has an all-moving tailplane. So there's not actually a trim tab on the elevator. The whole tailplane rotates on a jack screw. And so you can actually end up in a situation where you run out of elevator authority if you're out of trim in certain circumstances.
Of course, yes.
There's a couple of GA aeroplanes that'll do that to you. They have some other interesting quirks, but yeah.
That can be real nasty.
Yes. A little the Moonies, which are a high-performance little GA aeroplane. It's similar to a Porsche 911 in that very, very high performance, very fast, but it can kill you if you look at it the wrong way.
Nice. ETA.
Good question.
11:39, so 10:39.
10:39.
UTC.
No, 10:39 our time.
Oh, 10:39 our time.
Yeah.
Right, another 20 minutes.
Well, allegedly, but that's not going to happen when we're at flight level 350.
Yeah, and we're heading in the wrong direction.
And we're heading in the wrong direction.
No, we're heading towards O'Hare.
Basically.
Yeah. The runways, approaches, etc.
Plus 25 and the town runways up the assignment approach most likely.
Kettle 5, was it?
And that's what we played.
Yep. So we're going to often have problems here of why isn't it doing what it's supposed to be doing? Well, because it's doing exactly what you've told it to do. It's a computer, it's stupid.
And again, real pilots would be on top of this because they're paying attention in cruise, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Not talking to YouTubers.
Oh no, we'd just be talking to each other. So
Sorry, that's a lot of throttle change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is it doing that?
There's a bit of wind out there, there's a bit of turbulence. And we've not had a smooth descent from altitude, so we've been held by ATC, and and you know that may not necessarily be realistic in the aeroplane. These hunt a little bit more. Now, of course, we've got 2 or 3 different weather programs injecting so-called different real-world weather, and some of them can argue with others, and yeah. It's more of an art than a science, shall we say.
approach.
FMCs and radios, we can't really set anything at the moment. EGPWS.
Yes, I'm on weather.
I'm on terrain. ECAS. Data link, understand.
Transition.
And transition. Auto brakes are set to level 2. And altimeter's 2986.
Right, you want to give us a status update where we're at? What's happening?
Absolutely. So we have just skipped forward in time a little bit, and we're about 20 miles outside of Chicago O'Hare, and we will be
7,000, quite a 7,500. We're quite too far.
Descending to 7,000 feet now, and we'll be being radar vectored into Chicago O'Hare for runway 28 center.
Does radar vectored means their ATC radar has got us and guiding us, giving us the best?
Absolutely. Yep, they're doing it for traffic sequencing. So we've got traffic out here to our 1 o'clock. And what they'll do is they'll basically vector us around the sky to line up with the with final approach, which is, as I said, on runway 28 center.
This is Chicago O'Hare.
Absolutely.
And I have the field inside.
You said the nose in the 747 pitches up a bit?
It does pitch up, yeah, naturally. But as we slow down a little bit, the pitch angles will change, especially as we start to take flap as well. Right.
The top, maybe.
I don't know where he's taking us.
And then do a right
Right turn onto 28, yeah, but he's also using the other 2 7s as well,
Yes.
so I don't know what he's doing with us.
I can see someone launching off the runway down there. It's very cool.
Yeah, you might have forgotten about us.
No, I won't forget us. We're out of the airport. We're in the middle of his screen.
Yeah.
Altitude,
7,000.
speed mode.
Okay, so you just fly, I'll do everything else for you.
That's where it's supposed to work.
Absolutely. Right 090, Qantas 25. Shame Meigs Field doesn't exist anymore.
The Wrigley Field, that...
Yes.
Save Ferris.
Chicago Approach 119.0, Qantas 25. Thanks very much. G'day. G'day Approach, Qantas 25 is with you, level 7000, heading 090. Expect the ILS 27 left, Qantas 25.
So they just switched runways on us?
Lovely. Okay, we'll do that. 27 left.
Do I have the wrong chart up?
That's okay.
Let me know the Barrow, the decision height.
Wilco. Okay, there we go. Approach is up in the box. That should come up as armed. Excellent. I don't have to look up the top screen anymore. I built it, I should know. There you go. Flaps 1.
It's exciting.
It was.
Whoa. That's why we're strapped in.
Yep.
Okay.
Did it pitch out? No, it's still going. Yep.
You're right back there?
Yep.
Flap 5, thanks.
Flaps 5. Flap 5 speed.
Yeah.
Mm.
I haven't had to do that before.
Oh, I have. Turn right 250, intersect localizer, and cross 25. You're going to give us further descent, sir? There you go, localizer set.
Flap 10,
250,
thanks.
flaps 10. Now you still got 20 miles to run, don't forget. Qantas 25, maintain 7000 until intercept, and just say again airspeed, thanks. 210 until 10 knots, Qantas 25.
Me, please.
Approach is armed,
Thank you.
and we are cleared the approach.
10 13 nautical miles before we can slow.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay, 700 foot, well it's going to be more than 700 foot a minute. It's going to be about 850 foot a minute or something.
Yep.
Actually it's going to be 1,000 feet a minute or something like that. Okay, the wind at the moment, you've got 15 from the left, 10 on the nose. Right, we are visual. Do you have the correct runway in sight?
I have no idea. There's 15 minutes by whole.
Okay, 12785, Qantas 25. G'day. G'day Tower, Qantas 25 is with you on the ILS. Qantas 25, just confirm we're for runway 27 left. Okay, cabin notification is complete. Not quite ready for that yet. We'll hold on the gear. Flap 5, flap 10, flap 10 speed. Coming back to flap 10 speed. I'll put the gear out as well, that'll help slow us down.
Copy. 2986. Set.
Yes.
Low. Bit to the right. Coming back there. Let's go flap 20.
Flap 20,
Gear is
flap
already down.
20 speed. And holding on final flap for you.
That's my excuse.
Yep, you got 8 knots from the left, 10 on the nose. Speed's about 5 knots high, but the auto throttle's still on. You're starting to drift low.
Copy. See, I've got 3 to 1.
You look like you need to come to the left a little. Okay, so 9 from the left, 13 on the nose. From the left, 15 on the nose. We are cleared to land and final items are complete. Seven from the left, 10 on the nose.
High, but it's okay. On the runway.
Just have to get it onto the runway.
15, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, we're on the ground. Go the reverses.
Try and keep us on the runway.
And your manual braking as well.
Auto brake traffic.
1219, Qantas 25. Thanks, g'day.
Now we just have to get to the terminal.
Now you're going to get an alphabet soup thrown at you here. Clear to cross 4 left at Hotel 1 and use hotel into the gates. Qantas 25.
Oh, look at that, the sun's out. It's a beautiful day in Chicago.
It is. Go over here and park next to Atlas Air, I think. Plenty of places to park.
I'll pop it over there.
Yep.
There's lots of traffic around as well.
Absolutely. Oh, looks like a spot just here, mate. I'll go in there.
This is our gate.
Yeah, this'll do.
The United Terminal.
Yep.
Code sharing this time.
Yeah, we've changed the code share from American to United.
Yeah.
He's definitely from Singapore. Parking brake set.
Okay. APU is on. Alright. We're all good. APU is connected.
APU is connected and running. Gens are off.
Engines off. Alright. That's the last we need of him. Levo's running.
It's down. Suffering water.
It's
Welcome
down.
to Chicago.
Alright.
Have a water.
What else we got to do? That's that done, that done, that done. Okay. I think we're done, aren't we?
We're good.
The
Yep.
after parking checklist. Yep, that one.
Okay, parking checklist. Parking brakes.
Set.
Set, stab trim.
Is
6
whatever it is.
units. Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Transponder.
Is untouchable.
Standby. Radar is off.
Yep.
Emergency exit lights are off. Cargo heat is off. Fuel pumps are off. Anti-ice is off. Window heat is off. And IRSs are
Oh, I left that
off.
one on purpose, but anyway.
That's it. Hydraulic command pumps are off.
Excellent, thank you, Rod. Alright, here we are. Welcome to Chicago.
Absolutely.
The big what was the big wacko when we came in?
That was a motion dropping out.
Oh, it was dropping out.
Yeah,
System was dropping out.
we settled down and went bang.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was, that was...
Right, so that wasn't an atmospheric condition.
No.
that was a-
That, when it started going that sort of...
Yeah, there was-
I felt that before it was
Right.
turbulence. It felt a bit weird. I
Yeah, I was too busy.
Oh, here's my landing performance. There you go.
77, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
77.
77.
decent.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're a bit off there on the left.
Well, as they say, any landing that you can reuse the aeroplane after is a good landing.